How's it going, everyone? Welcome to our blockchain video in this course series at Crypto Planet University. Um, so this video focuses on what is blockchain, uh, how is it used, what is its purpose, and how is it a safer way to transfer funds, to store funds, and to transfer information, rather than using a middleman like a bank. So we'll get right into it. So today, the average person has heard of blockchain, but most people don't understand what it actually is, and most people today actually don't use it. So basically, a blockchain is it's basically what you see in the name. It is a chain of blocks. That's why it's called blockchain, and these blocks contain information. And the original intention of this technology was to timestamp digital documents so that it wouldn't be possible to backdate them or tamper with them like a notary. So it makes it very difficult to change a transaction that is occurring on the blockchain. We'll go into detail about exactly how a specific blockchain like Bitcoin's blockchain does this and why it makes it such a great investment because people's money can't be messed around with. You don't have to worry about a middleman messing things up or stealing your money. That's because of its decentralization, which means there's no sort of governance in this technology. So blockchain was mostly unused until it was adapted by the anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, who in 2009 created Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was actually created one day after the 2008 stock market crash. Well, that's when its white paper came out. But Satoshi Nakamoto, no one knows who he is exactly. He's still anonymous, and I assume he is going to stay that way. And I highly doubt there's anyone who knows who he is. And if there is, I doubt they're going to come out and say so. So let's take a look at the next slide. So what is inside of each block? So each block contains specific things. So that would be data, hash of the block, and hash of the previous block. So the data stored inside of a block depends on the type of blockchain. Um, Basically, the Bitcoin blockchain would store sender, receiver, amount of coins. A lot of different cryptocurrency blockchains would do the same thing, because for the most part, you're using cryptocurrency to transfer funds and value. Um, Hash is something that identifies the block and all of its contents. And this is something that is always unique, like a fingerprint. And once a block is created, the hash is being calculated, and changing something inside of the block will cause the hash to change. And this makes it very difficult to tamper with a block on the blockchain because you will see that the hash has changed. And this makes these are very useful when you want to detect changes to blocks. And the hash of the previous block creates a chain of blocks, which makes the blockchain secure. So what is proof of work? So blockchains have something called proof of work, or POW for short, which slows down the creation of new blocks. And in Bitcoin's case, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very difficult to tamper with the blocks because if you tamper with one block, you have to recalculate the proof of work for all the blocks that come after. And that's why Bitcoin is so secure. And each one of these blocks takes about 10 minutes to tamper with. I mean, sorry, to recalculate the proof of work. So this is very difficult to do. It's almost impossible. The security of a blockchain comes from its creative use of hashing and this proof of work mechanism. So I hope you guys understand why this is very important. It creates the security of the blockchain. So here is a little bit more about how it makes the blockchain so secure. And basically, this picture shows why proof of work does that. It's almost impossible to alter a transaction and cheat the system because of this mechanism. So what you can see in this picture is you see the blocks being worked on, and let's say everyone is working on block 91, but one miner wants to alter a transaction in block 74. He probably wants to get himself some more Bitcoin. He probably wants to trick the system and trick the blockchain. But he can't do that because he would have to make all these changes and redo all computations for blocks 74 to 90 and do block 91. And that's 18 blocks of expensive computing. And he would have to do all that before everyone else in the Bitcoin network finished just one block, which would be number 91. And each one of these blocks that he has to work on takes 10 minutes, and block 91 also takes 10 minutes itself. So it would be pretty much impossible. So what else makes the blockchain so secure? Um, there is one more way that blockchains secure themselves, and that is by being distributed. Instead of using a central entity to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network, and everyone is allowed to join. And when someone joins the network, they get a full copy of the blockchain. So in current times, we don't have a decentralized entity that allows us to manage our funds. We have banks, we have the government. None of that is decentralized. It's all centralized. We have no individual control over our funds unless you are holding your cash in your house hidden under a mattress. But no one really wants to do that. We're in an age of technology, and that is just not something we do now in the year 2019. So, what is a peer to peer network and how does it work? So, in its simplest form, a peer to peer network is created when two or more PCs are connected and share resources without going through a separate server computer. And when someone creates a new block, that block is sent to everyone on the network. And each node verifies that block to make sure it hasn't been tampered with. And if everything checks out, each node adds this block to their own blockchain. So by doing this, the network creates consensus throughout all these nodes, and they agree about which blocks are valid and which aren't. So if a block has been tampered with, the network will realize throughout all the nodes who are creating this consensus, and that problem will be handled and fixed. So then to successfully tamper with a blockchain, you need to tamper with all blocks on the chain, redo the proof of work for each block, and take control of more than 50% of the P2P network. So we didn't talk about that before. In order to actually tamper with the blockchain, you need to control more than 50% of the nodes, and then your tampered block will become accepted because the majority will say, okay, that block is fine. But if you don't have 50% of the P2P network, you can't say that your tamper blocks are fine. So right now we don't have to worry about that. If someone did control more than 50% of the network, it will be possible for the blockchain to be tampered with. So where do coins come into play and what gives them real world value? And most people don't understand this. They think cryptocurrencies are magic internet money. A lot of people who invest in them don't even understand this. And even when I started investing in them about 3 years ago, I didn't understand why they had a real value. Uh, and I just thought, okay, trading one coin for another, making some money, and that's it. Doesn't matter what it is or whether it's real or not. But realistically, that does matter. We did just have a market crash recently where people lost 95% of their money. So as we can see, it does matter. It's very important. Um, so a lot of people who have been investing for the past couple of years in the last bull run, even a lot of the new people getting in now, or the new people who will get into the next bull run, will probably think they're just buying into hype and the potential that someone else will pay a higher price. And that's not a good way of investing. So what gives it value? When miners put in the time and effort to solve proof of work, create new blocks, validate transactions, and keep the network secure, they of course aren't doing this for free. They're doing this for a reward. And on the Bitcoin blockchain, they are rewarded in Bitcoin for keeping the network running. Without a monetary reward, there would be no reason for people to validate transactions and make the blockchain work. So, Ethereum and smart contracts. What are smart contracts? So, a smart contract is an agreement between two people in the form of computer code, and the blockchain helps this run. So, these smart contracts are stored on a public database and they cannot be changed. This idea was first conceived in 1993, and the idea was originally described by computer science Nick Szabo as a kind of digital vending machine. In a famous example by him, he described how users could input data or value and receive a finite item from a machine, in this case, a real world snack or soft drink. So Ethereum allows developers to program their own smart contracts. And what smart contracts can do is function as multi signature accounts so that funds are only spent when a required percentage of people agree. So people have to agree that the contract was fulfilled. They can manage agreements between users, say if one buys insurance from the other or property, other important things. So store information about an application, such as domain registration information or membership records. One other important thing about smart contracts before I go into this, a lot of times in history, dictators have come into power and they've taken away people's properties and different things. For example, I went to Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia, right next to Russia, about a year ago, and I stayed with some friends who had a large apartment building. And during the Soviet Union, they had most of that apartment building taken away from them from communist leaders, and they had no way to prove that this apartment building was theirs once the Soviet Union collapsed. But if they had their ownership of this apartment building on a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain, they would be able to prove that they had owned all this property, and they wouldn't have to go through all the courts and everything. And it would just be absolute proof of ownership agreed upon by many people, agreed upon whoever sold it to them, et cetera, et cetera. But from an investor's perspective, investment should always be done with caution. And we are not financial advisors. So just because we talk about blockchain doesn't mean you should invest in it. You should do your own research. But from my perspective, I think that certain cryptocurrencies should be purchased by anyone who believes in this tech and sees how it can have a positive impact on the world. Currently, most cryptocurrencies are down 90 to 99% from their highest prices, and now could be the best time to invest. That all depends on the actual project, what it is trying to do, and whether it can actually be successful, if the team is actually putting in work and being active. And research is the most important thing that you must do before investing. And if you want to invest, this is one of my most important rules. You must be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. All right, guys, that's it for the blockchain video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot about blockchain. There's definitely some good books that I'll recommend for learning more about the blockchain, and take care.